Hello everybody, it's Lazel here with another EDH deck tech. Today I'm talking about Nixilis, the Fallen. He is a 5 mana 3/3 legendary creature demon with a Landfall mechanic, which says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target player lose 3 life. If you do, put 3 +1/+1 counters on Nixilis, the Fallen. We are going to play this deck as a mono black Voltron deck, in which we power up Nixilis with a bunch of landfall triggers, powerful equipments, and then we swing for the win. We want to equip Nixilis with cards like Sword of Forge and Frontier, a 3 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and from green. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. You may play an additional land this turn. I have mostly focused all of those equipments around additional lands that we can play, or also untapping our lands, because this deck builds a huge mana advantage due to a lot of acceleration. Another great equipment is Bitterthorn, Nissa's Animus. It has living weapon and equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So as soon as we swing with Nixilis, we get our first landfall trigger after the land entered, which will pump him up even more, sort of Hearth and Home. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from green and from white. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target creature you own. Then search your library for a basic land card. Put both cards onto the battlefield under your control, then shuffle. This way we get another landfall trigger after we have dealt damage. Sword of the Animist, 2 mana artifact. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Sword of Feast and Famine. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from black and from green. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and you untap all lands you control. On attack, we can cheat lands into play, and after we have attacked, we get to untap all of those lands. So much value. And one of my personal favorites, because we are in a mono black deck, Strata Scythe. A 3 mana artifact with imprint. When Strata Scythe enters the battlefield, search a library for a land card, exile it, then shuffle a library. So as soon as this enters, we exile one of our swamps, which we will have enough of, and equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land on the battlefield with the same name as the exiled card. Remember that this also counts for your opponents, so if they play swamps, they are in trouble. We can also use a few fetch lands to catch our opponents by surprise. For example, Evolving Wilds. Tap, sacrifice Evolving Wilds, search a library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Terramorphic Expanse. The same text for the same payoff. Myriad Landscape. It enters the battlefield tapped, you can tap it to add 1 colorless, and you can pay 2, tap it and sacrifice it to search a library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Bloodstained Mire. Tap it, pay 1 life, sacrifice it to search a library for a swamp or mountain card and then put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Marsh Flats. Tap it, pay 1 life, sacrifice it to search a library for a plains or swamp card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. And another really cool ramp card is Terran Generator. You can tap it to add 1 colorless, or you can pay 2, tap it, you may put a basic land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. There are more powerful ramp artifacts, for example Realmbreaker, the Invasion Tree. 3 mana and you can pay 2 and tap it to target opponent mills 3 cards. Put a land card from the graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. It gains if this land would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. You can also pay 10 mana, tap it and sacrifice Realmbreaker, the Invasion Tree to search a library for any number of Praetor cards, put them onto the battlefield and then shuffle. This fits pretty well in a mono black deck because we can search for all of our different Sheoldreds. Wayfarer's Bauble, 1 mana artifact, pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it to search a library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. Navigation Orb, 3 mana, you can pay 2, tap it and sacrifice Navigation Orb to search a library for up to 2 basic land cards and or gate cards. Reveal those cards, put 1 onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. And Expedition Map, 1 mana artifact, pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it to search a library for a land card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Yes, we are in mono black, but we can still use colorless creatures to ramp. For example, Walking Atlas, a 2 mana 1/1, and you can tap it, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Solemn Simulacrum, 4 mana 2/2, when it enters the battlefield you may search a library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. When it dies, you may draw a card. Scaretiller, a 4 mana 1/4. When it becomes tapped, choose 1. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, or return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This fits pretty well with all of our fetch lands. And of course, Burnished Heart, 3 mana 2/2. For 3 mana and sacrifice it, search a library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. We play more cards that abuse the landfall mechanic. For example, Dread Presence, a 4 mana 3/3, and whenever a swamp enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. You draw a card and you lose 1 life, or Dread Presence deals 2 damage to any target and you gain 2 life. Tiller Engine, a 2 mana 1/3, and whenever a land enters the battlefield tapped under your control, choose 1. Untap that land, or tap target non-land permanent an opponent controls. And Retreat to Hagra, a 3 mana enchantment with Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn, or each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We play mono black Voltron, so we also need to protect Nixilis. For example, Undying Malice, a 1 mana instant, which says until end of turn, target creature gains, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Not dead after all, 1 mana instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control, then create a Wicked Roll token attached to it. Mithril Code, a 3 mana flash artifact with Indestructible, and when Mithril Code enters the battlefield, attach it to target legendary creature you control. Equipped creature has Indestructible. Feign Death, 1 mana instant. Until end of turn, target creature gains, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. We not only protect, we also give Nixilis haste. Lightning Greaves, 2 mana artifact, equipped creature has haste and shroud. And Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana artifact, equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Now all we need to do is give Nixilis Trample. For example, with Shadow Spear, a 1 mana legendary artifact, equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has Trample and Lifelink. For 1 mana, permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Hero's Heirloom, a 2 mana artifact, equipped creature gets +2/+1, and as long as equipped creature is legendary, it has Trample and haste. Loxodon Warhammer, 3 mana artifact, equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has Trample and Lifelink. You want to win more? You get it. Eternity Vessel, 6 mana artifact. Eternity Vessel enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it, where X is your life total. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have your life total become the number of charge counters on Eternity Vessel. If you can ramp this one out really quickly, you don't have to worry about all of the backclaps you will receive when Nixilis is tapped. Herald of Leshrac, 7 mana 2/4 flying. Cumulative upkeep, gain control of a land you don't control. Herald of Leshrac gets +1/+1 for each land you control, but you don't own. When Herald of Leshrac leaves play, each player gains control of each land he or she owns that you control. Sure, we don't get any landfall triggers from this one, but not only do we take our opponent's resources, we also get to pump up our alternative win cons, for example Nightmare or Squelching Leeches, if we can take our opponent's swamps. Another great card in this deck is Essence Harvest, a 3 mana sorcery. Target player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Due to the fact that we will grow Nixilis really big, this card can one-shot a player easily. And of course we play the Ozolith, a 1 mana legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith on target creature. Alright guys, these were a few ideas of mine that I will play in Nixilis the Fallen. If you want to add any cards to the list, let us know down in the comments below. Let me know which legendary creature I shall feature next, and then I would say see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.